Hi, in this video we're going to take a look at 3 tips for making the use of articles much less stressful. Now this is where my courses differ from a lot of teachers. I will of course give the students something that is grammatically correct. However, I want to try and take the stress out of grammar. And therefore, I'm always trying to give students little tips, little shortcuts that will make things less stressful for them. So, I've got 3 questions up on the board here. The first one is, articles are more important for A, speaking, or B, writing? What do you think? Hopefully, you went with writing. Now, of course, if they can be grammatically accurate when they speak, that's fantastic. But the worst thing that you can do when speaking to somebody is to stop while you consider grammatical rules. All right? Fluency and being understood are the most important things. So, for example, if I was chatting with somebody and I said, I went to, non-specific, singular, a party last week. This is going to be really boring for the listener. All right? If you say, I went to party the last week, I will understand you. When you're speaking, that's the most important thing. Okay? However, when you're writing, you have that extra time to think about the grammatical rules. And particularly at the end of a piece of writing, when you're checking something, you should check the rules to try and be as accurate as you possibly can. Okay, but for speaking, of course, try to get it right, but I don't think it's as important. As long as you're understood, that's the main goal of speaking to somebody. Okay, the next one, if you really don't know, which one should you use? Now, what I'm trying to say here is that there will be times when a student doesn't know whether to use the, at or an, or no article. Okay, and they have to guess, particularly in things like exams or when they're speaking. Now, if you ask this question to your students, almost always they will say no article. And this is a problem, because they think that if they don't know, just don't put an article. However, if we go into more rules, and we will in the high intermediate grammar go-getter, we'll go into more rules than this, you will start to realise that there are so many more uses of the. Now, obviously, I want my students to be 100% correct all the time. However, sometimes if they don't know, they have to make a guess, and I want to give them the best chance of being successful. So, if you don't know, I always recommend using the, because it has so many more applications. And finally, if you learn the rules of articles, you will always be correct. True or false? It's actually false. Okay? In the past, I've taught very detailed article courses, and students have come back to me with examples from that day's newspaper. And it doesn't conform to any of the rules that I taught them. This is possibly because it's in a fixed phrase. It could be in an idiom. There are many different reasons why certain nouns take an article or don't take an article. All right, the most common of these would be something like I'm going to bed. Okay, bed is a singular countable noun. Why we don't use an article, I don't know. All right, so again, sometimes students get very stressed by articles because perhaps they don't have articles in their own language. I don't think that articles are a really, really important aspect of grammar. Be right and be correct as much as you can, and there is very little worse than reading an essay which has 100 article mistakes. Okay, but even if you spend the rest of your life studying the grammatical rules, you will still make mistakes with articles. And therefore, what I'm trying to say to the students is not to get too stressed about them. Now, at this point, you might be sitting there disagreeing with these 3 things, and that's absolutely fine. Okay, if you are the kind of person who wants to only teach the students to be 100% grammatically accurate, that is fine. But one thing that I would like to say to you is by giving them honest shortcuts, it helps you to build rapport. They appreciate that you understand how difficult it is to learn all of these rules. And by saying, here are the rules, try to get them right, however, here is a shortcut, students really, really go for that kind of thing. So I would recommend, when you're teaching other aspects of grammar, not just articles, think about the grammatical accuracy, but also think, what can I give them as a quick shortcut, especially when they're speaking. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will be back in the next unit with another one. Take care.